Hey everybody, I'm Scotty J. Welcome to Rock Titan Live. We've got a very special show for you today. It's different. This is very different. A lot of times we have, various people within the music industry. Most of the time it's the musicians. Sometimes we'll have people in other facets. But to date, we've never actually had a music festival promoter and or someone who actually runs it, like the straw that stirs the drink. One of the biggest festivals running for the last few years has been down in Virginia called the Blue Ridge Rock Festival. And our beautiful Out with Ambler, who does all the photography for Rock Titan, she's been going there for years. And she's actually responsible for bringing us our next guest, Jon Slye. Mr. Slye, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, Scotty. It's well as good as you can be after such a busy week. Thank you so much for taking the time to extend the invitation and to have me on. I checked out a bunch of your interviews in advance, and honored to be one of the guests
All right. All right.
that
So you
far.
saw those interviews and you still wanted to go through with this. Man, I was already honored that you wanted to be on the show, but now that I know you actually trolled me, man, oh my God, this is like
You
I'm
had Devin Townsend on there. He's
I
he's he's a legendary
yeah.
guitarist.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's a lot of fun. Yeah, no, we've had some great guests, but man, you're the guy. Like I said, the straw that stirs the drink. I know you're one of the co-founders of the Blue Ridge Rock Festival, and I mean, just looking at the bill for this year, I mean, my God, you got Seven Dust, Killswitch Engage, Fozzy. The list goes on. I mean, major headliners. How many bands total did you have ready to rock and roll for this?
Including the pre-party and everything from start to finish, was about 100. And it was a mixture of everything from national to a couple of local acts to some regional bands to just rising national bands that are on the cusp of getting signed or just got signed. But we had bands coming in from all over the country. We had our good friends Deform from California were flying all the way out from LA to play what was set to be one of the only shows they did this year. So it was quite a mixture. Everything from all facets of rock to even a little bit of rap infused rock to metal.
Wow. Now, before we get into, current events and, for everyone, obviously, that's been following you as well as Blue Ridge Rock Festival on social media, they know what's going on. They have an idea of what you and I are going to be talking about at least a little bit. But I do want to backtrack here because, this is 4 years running that you've had this festival. What made you want to take on the immensely arduous task of putting on a music festival like this in the first place?
Sure. So it's quite a journey. I started when I was 16, and my first event was when I was in high school, and I produced a music festival actually headlined by POD. And I had no idea what I was doing, had no financial backing, anything like this. It actually ended up being POD's second show back from their hiatus with their full original lineup, and they just played a huge festival in California, their home state, to come back, and then they came to little old Northern Virginia to play with a high school promoter who's he spent quite a time pitching them and sharing with their team, just the passion that I had and the mission that I had behind the event. And I remember Sonny from POD actually called in to confirm the show all the way from Israel. So there are quite a few stories to share about the progression and the growth now that I'm about 10 years into the industry. Um, but with Blue Ridge in particular, I had come to Lynchburg actually for school and had started producing events. And it started off doing stuff in little just places, churches to small, VFW halls, things of that nature. Then into making our own venues, essentially, where we found parking lots, where we found other little slabs of property that we could just rent out for the day. And we had everything from foam parties with Pauly D from Jersey Shore to bringing in B.O.B. and a lot of different acts back in the day. And they took off. And then I got a call from the people at Phase 2, which was a venue that had been running for over 20 years at the time, which was the only notable venue in Lynchburg,
Right.
and brought in a few shows independently. They were very successful. Puddle Mud was my second full show there, sold out well in advance, with the Come Clean anniversary tour that they did, or the Come Clean album in its entirety show that they did. And it was a huge success. So I ended up becoming the talent buyer there. Started producing shows, and right on the heels of that, I had an idea. I had a couple of partners at the time, and we were discussing different ideas through. And we decided, hey, why don't we do this rock festival? So we came together because we said, hey, we're having a great amount of success here with rock concerts, and here in Lynchburg area, let's come together with a concept. And so we developed the idea for Blue Ridge Rock Festival. And shortly thereafter, I was in communication with a lot of agents, with a lot of people in the industry. And there was a tour called Make America Rock Again that was coming out for its second year, and was working to finalize its lineup. And the premise for what I ended up saying, here's what we should present for the festival, was to route around that tour, to build a festival around that tour package coming through. So we became an anchor date on one of those tours, on one of the legs of the tour. And we booked a support bill around it, and had the first year of Blue Ridge. It was on fairly short notice, but we had Scott Stapp, the voice of Creed, Drowning Pool, Everlast, POD Dope, Sick Puppies, something along those lines. That was the first year of Blue Ridge, and had about 3,500 people for a one-day event.
Wow, that's solid. That's solid. And it's funny you talk about that show you did with Puddle of Mud and how great that was. We've had Wes Cantlin on a few times. He's a good friend of ours. He's a very good friend of ours, man. You got to go check out my singing chops. I did a carpool karaoke with Wes. You got to check that out sometime when you get the chance. But
really,
yes, yeah. It was fun. He's very, very, very cool, and I'm sure you know yourself, because you deal with all these bands directly. Just how down to earth and just ordinary folk. A lot of these guys are. They just happen to be tremendous, tremendous musicians. But yeah, man, I mean, what a lineup you initially put together, and then to watch it evolve. And I think one of the cool things is how many of those guys you've been able to retain, keeping those same bands on the bill. From its inception of the Blue Ridge Rock Festival, to where it is now, what's it meant to you? Because you put so much of your blood, sweat, and tears, your heart and soul into this, just to see the enthusiasm from the fan base and the musicians that participate. What has that meant to you?
Sure. So it means everything, and I'll explain that. I said this time and time again, and I've shared it in a couple different interviews and such this week, but if Blue Ridge was to have happened this year, it would have made a substantial amount of money, even with the PPE and other costs. Ticket sales were just off the charts. But when we look back and evaluate, okay, yes, there's this financial reason. The biggest reason that we looked back and said, this is what's going to hurt the most by far, and I truly, truly say that, is how many fans were relying on this. I mean, Scotty, when I did that video announcing that impromptu, hey, the festival's been postponed, we're just going on to get like 40,000 views. I've received, just on my Instagram page, not to mention Facebook and stuff, I mean, I received over 500 message requests since that on Instagram. And it's same thing. It's vast majority are people that believe in Blue Ridge, believed in music therapy, loved the experience of rock, the unique community. And that's what I would say time again is really, really valuable, is we have built up a unique community here just to harness the power of this passionate, unified community of rockers that feel that they truly carry weight from start to finish with creating this festival. They are a player, and the reality is they are. We do these polls year round, from Instagram to Facebook, to help book the lineup, for example. That's the thing we're most known for, is I literally put out stuff to help gauge and make decisions on artists based on what the fans want to see. Like on the hip hop side this year, we had a couple of hip hop acts, and they were the top, in the top 3 poll. We can't always get number 1, but we get 2 and 3. There's other variables. So I tell people, hey, that doesn't mean like if this person wins and dominates all the polls, they could be in Europe at the time, or they could be recording or something. However, for the most part, we are adapting and we are going live with exactly what we see our fans voting for, and that goes to our venue layouts, our vendor selection, all sorts of things. We just couldn't totally get the ship off the ground, or the plane off the ground, I should say, this year, because and that was one of the reasons why we never got to announce the top 10, is because it was just one hurdle after another. But the passion of the fans was everything, and when the festival was starting out and it was losing substantial amounts of money as you're building, because that's what festivals do, it was really the fans that continue to fuel it and say, hey, petition it to come back, send tons of letters, talk to the county, talk to venues and stuff for us, and just became a driving, passionate base. And that was something that honestly, I love rock. I love the power of music to reach people and to break down barriers, and that was the premise for starting the festival. But it's been a huge. The fans have been a major factor in developing it to what it is today, and helping inspire me and the curation and the organizing of it every year.
Yeah. Now I know that putting something like this together is a tremendous, undertaking, and I mean I would imagine from the moment the one festival ends back in say 2019, probably within that month you're already starting to lay the groundwork for what you want to do in 2020, if not even before then. So everything's going on, and back in late February, early March, all of a sudden these murmurs of this, massive virus, the coronavirus, which is now a pandemic, comes out. As this thing starts, what's starting to go through your mind, as the guy that's running a festival of this magnitude that you've already put all of this time into? I mean, are you like in panic mode? Are you staying calm, cool, and collected? Like, let's just see what happens here. Like, what wheels of motion are starting to kick off here? What are you thinking?
It was really interesting, Scotty, because there was just progression. It was just 1 month went down, and the next month went down, and then the next month went down, and it just kept having this. It just kept happening time and time again, where all of a sudden we started to feel more and more in jeopardy. And really, for us, it was the last 2 or 3 weeks that it all just ultimately came down. And there's, I've spelled out some of the reasons as to why, and happy to revisit those. But it was we didn't anticipate it at first, and then it started. Once we got into like May, it started becoming trickier, because artists started being more hesitant to take on shows. We started to have murmurs about, can artists that we had booked overseas, could they come into the U.S.? Were tours going away that would affect if they were able to play Blue Ridge? It just became a lot trickier too. Can you get some additional, medical sanitation teams out there? Can you get additional, bathrooms and we had hand sanitizer galore and hand washing stations. It just started to get more and more complex. And we did our best to, I tried to get out in front of it and to be very proactive. I evaluated it and tried to learn from what other people were doing. And I would say that, we put out some statements. We put out some statements in like March, April, May, that were, we extended the tickets to $85 for much longer, even though the lineup was, had warranted, hey, we needed to go up in ticket price in order to break even. We started doing things proactively, getting involved in local organizations and such, to try to take care of fans, to try to offer out some extra free tickets, to try to help our fans, because we knew that they were hurting as much as we were. And we just remained optimistic and kept battling. But I mean, to go in the weeds about how many hoops and hurdles had to be, jumped and navigated through during all this was really incredible, because nothing like this had necessarily happened. There are not festivals, even really to this date, anywhere close to our size, that have happened where we could say, hey, this is what you do. And and then there was a lot of liability, a lot of risk, financially, legally, insurance-wise, et cetera, because again, we would have been, if we didn't have the opportunity, we got shut down prior to moving forward, but we would have been in a space where, we would have been blazing our own trail. And that's, in this case, is a very risky thing, particularly for a small independent, organization to be doing, that doesn't have larger, backing.
Right, right, yeah. No, I mean, and so with that virus, and you wanting to put on this festival, obviously there's so many things that are out of your control. Like, let's just say you reach out to all the band's management and what have you, and they're all like, yeah, screw it, and they're just gonna do it anyway. Of course, we know that's not the case, but let's just say that all the bands were totally down with doing it, and all the fans were like, yeah, man, no worries. worries. It's like Woodstock 69, during another pandemic back then. We're just going to do it. Fact of the matter is, you got, a lot of other powers that be that are like, yeah, no, don't care. You're done. So, I mean, I would imagine that, state, maybe even federal, local government is coming into play there. Does Live Nation have anything to do with a festival like this, or are you completely separate from Live Nation? Did they have any influence on this?
Not directly, but indirectly, because Live Nation is the largest promoter in the world. So they set the barometer, and they set a lot of, what they are doing with their tours and their festivals being the top dog is what is state are looking at, what we're looking at, what a lot of people are looking at to understand, because being that they are far and above number one, they're supposed to be the most informed. They have the most amount of tours and festivals out that they're deployed. And so they have the biggest amount of, things on the road to be able to be mindful of and to be concerned about. And so we wanted to see, what are they doing in each state? How are they approaching shows in different genres? Because, as I have mentioned, one thing that was different, and why you see some country festivals still going and such, but you don't see rock yet, is because the crowd surfing, the moshing, the interactive nature of the audience that's different from some of these different state fair type shows, which more than likely, and I may or may not have intel on that, are going away. And so it's really difficult. And I just, it became scarier and scarier, I will say, in playing within COVID preparation. For example, 3 weeks out, you start to build the whole site out. Okay, so what happens if people get COVID? Do you shut it down? Do you have to retest? Think about how funky it was going to be backstage from an infrastructure standpoint, from a crew to artists to fans. What happens if people start getting COVID early on in the festival? People are living together. I mean, we were on pace to probably do something in the ballpark of 8,500 to probably 11,000 campers on site.
Wow.
Those people that are within fairly close proximity to one another. So.
Well, now, was there any one particular influence that was the so-called nail in the coffin that said, John, love you, buddy, Blue Ridge can't happen. It is not happening. Was it just a variety of things, or was it any one thing?
Sure. There were a couple of nails.
Okay.
The very last nail was when the governor came out. So we made the decision Monday night, this past Monday night. Previous Thursday, the calendar, again, everything's been a blur. I can't imagine, and I can't express enough how insane this week has been for me. The last Thursday, a little over a week ago, there was a statement put out by the governor that said what phase 3 would look like. And he spelled out phase 3 in Virginia would be, you could open up outdoor venues and such, which we knew, but he limited to 1,000 capacity. So we were concerned, because the intel and such that we're receiving behind the scenes on that is that that's going to be a long phase. That could be it's going to be at least 4 weeks. Probably it's going to be 6, maybe even a little bit longer in that phase. So it's like, okay, we're starting July 1st, at least 4 weeks, possibly 6. That starts to get into let's say maybe mid-August, for that phase to go away. And there was no guarantee from 1,000 people being allowed to be together outside to 30,000 people being allowed to be together outside. Not to mention what would happen if we fell back. What would happen if we slipped up? What would happen if there was a relapse just overall, which there has been continued murmurings about on as a nation as a whole. And it's become a very political issue, but we're looking at it purely from a health issue and from a safety issue from our fans and our attendees. And that was the biggest piece. And again, if we would have had people coming in from all 50 states and we start this festival and people get COVID and we're told, hey, shut it down now, then they're going to be even more mad, because then they've put all this money out. It gets really tricky. They've bought hotel rooms. They're coming in to the festival. They've made a weekend of it. They put all this time. So, and now we're trapped, and we feel absolutely awful about that. And that's one of the things that I just encourage people to think about, that perspective, and think about stuff all the way through like that, because that's what we were really starting to fight against. And that's even if somehow we were able to move forward. But that was one. And the other one was just growing concern about artists that had to drop off, artists that were anticipating that they might very well need to drop off. We're not going to do the festival if you have 10 of the 20 national acts in a given day or something dropping off the bill. It's just going to become really tricky to have that much of casualties to the lineup. Again, I rebooked this thing numerous times, Scotty. Numerous times, went back through it, replaced acts, and it wasn't the acts were saying, hey, we're dropping off, we don't believe you or anything. In most cases, they said, can we roll this over to next year? Is there any way you allow us to observe this contract in 2021? And we've been very receptive of it. And as I've mentioned, we have a good chunk of the lineup either booked or very close to being booked, including headliners for next year, which is crazy because we're 15 months away.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It does, on the positive side, I feel this year's lineup was very strong. The top 10 was another step up. But I will say that next year is looking extra strong. I feel very, very confident about it, that the fans are going to absolutely love it based on all the intel we've received through the years.
Awesome. Well, everybody, again, we are here with Jon Slye, co-founder of the Blue Ridge Rock Festival. And man, I'll tell you what, I mean, everybody, this is a bird's eye view, right into everything that ultimately went into, Jon's decision as well as that of his teams. And obviously there are a lot of disappointed people out there, but you get an idea. And Jon, thank you for your transparency and your honesty and just your candidness, because obviously this isn't something that anyone wanted, not by any stretch, but oh my God, to see all these things, to really put in perspective, there was absolutely no way this could have happened. I mean, there's just no way, but people don't understand, and you've brought so many of those facts to bear, this just wasn't able to happen. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, when you think about all the little moving parts and every single variable and scenario that you have to contend with to make a decision like this, and everything that's on the line, my God, Jon, I wouldn't want it to be you, man. I don't know anyone that would have wanted to be in your shoes for this, but like you touched on, I don't want to dwell too much on the sadness and the somberness of it, because, it happened. And guess what? There's a lot of other huge festivals, there's not a festival that's going to happen this summer, man. In all reality, they're already talking about the uptick of everything. I'm already seeing in the news, they're shutting down the beaches for 4th of July and everything like that. Everyone did their quarantining. It's all coming back. Ultimately, this is not going away until they come out with a vaccine, which is really, really sad. But jumping ahead, let's focus on some positivity here. And as I know you touched on that the other night, as far as people holding on to those tickets being honored for 2021. You've already got an amazing bill setting up for 2021. So as far as the enthusiasm, the excitement, for next year, anything that you can share with your fans and the audience out there as far as what they can expect that you can do next year that maybe you didn't have the time or the resources to do this year? Like, let's just say this year went off without a hitch. Do you already see things happening next year that you couldn't have done this year anyway?
Yes. The answer is definitely yes. So here's the layout, I would say, for 2021. And it's hard because I'd love to drop artists that are already confirmed, but I can't legally do that yet.
Sure.
But
sure. Yeah.
Maybe we'll come back and do a Rock Titan exclusive at some point.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
So here's what here's what we're doing for next year. First off, it's the biggest thing off the bat is you're moving to 4 days. And that doesn't mean that fans have to be here 4 days. And it's not 4 full days. So you don't have to worry about, it's going to be basically 3.5 to almost 4 days. The Thursday date, it's going to go Thursday to Sunday. The Thursday date is going to be almost a full day, but it's going to give some buffer time for people to come in, to get set up in the campground, et cetera. And what we're doing there is we wanted to give fans a further incentive to say, hey, not only did you get your tickets for the lowest price, because next year's prices will go up. It does not mean that we are trying to raise the prices on people to outprice people. We're still going to keep them extremely low. But at the same time, we want to reward the fans that bought tickets this year and make sure that they have a savings. In addition, we're going to give them access to a free day next year. And so that'll be Thursday. And normal fans, if they have to get a refund, whatever the case may be, they are absolutely going to be able to still purchase tickets to that 4th day or buy a 4-day pass next year, whatever they like. So they're still fine. But we wanted to throw in a free day and say, hey, look, you're not only just getting a 3-day for 3-day value, you're getting a 4th day. And the 4th day is going to be really interesting because it looks like it's going to be headlined by a very rare show. And then the direct support is going to be potentially an album anniversary show that is very near and dear to my heart. That could be very exciting. So it's not going to be a massive lineup, but it's going to be a strong one on that Thursday, and it's going to be one that is going to be very unique and rare, and I think will hold plenty of weight on its own right as a really special concert. Now, on to the rest of the festival. We're going to try to keep the prices all extremely low next year, rolling things over. We're allowing people to, again, you'll be able to get refunds. We're going to keep it open. We said 30 days, but we want to make sure everyone's set. So it's not going to be something where it's like a hard cut after 30 days. We'll make sure that we hear back from everyone to say, do you want to roll over your ticket? Do you want to get a full refund, including service fees and shipping fees, which eTix has been great about allowing everyone to do that, because not all ticketing companies have refunded some of this, because ticketing companies, you have to remember, there's so much behind the scenes with all this, Scotty. One of the things is ticketing companies are hurting too.
Right.
People are in festivals are hurting. There's, some people who got on me like, why are you stressing the full refunds? Because I've seen some horror stories. I've actually, being in the music business industry, I know that there's been some things over the past couple of months that have not gone as ideally for people. And so we just wanted people to know that it's secure, and also to stress, please bear with us, because people think when an event is postponed or canceled like this, that we just snap our fingers and the money's back in their account. And that's not the way it works. That's not the way it works with most refunds and stuff. There's a processing time. And you have to remember, ticketing companies are having, in some cases, hundreds of events pulled down a week, for these large ones like eTix, because everything is postponing and canceling, and they're constantly rolling through this. So they're completely slammed. Now, we're a big event, and they've been great in accommodating with us, but to refund, thousands and thousands and thousands of tickets does take a little bit of time to go through that process. So we just stress being there. The money was all held in an escrow account. Everything is safe and secure. It'll just take a few days for everything to get all processed, but we're well underway to starting that. But in terms of next year, we're also looking to do something a bit unique. I think I can say this part. We're trying to get Hells of Poppin' to do a special circus sideshow, full-blown, huge tent like they've done on a couple of occasions, the big circus experience, and have that offered for fans. Not only is it a cool opportunity and experience something fun to do while you're there in the grounds, but Blue Ridge has a tendency to sometimes be blistering hot. And if it's blistering hot, there's nothing more better than to go into a tent that has fans, blowing in every direction, and it gets you out of the heat for a little bit, and just to relax and have a little opportunity to drink a cold beverage and enjoy a fun show. So that is one of the ideas I will give you a little spoiler on that we're excited about working on. So nothing's finalized yet, but Bryce and everybody, and Ambler, actually big fan. She has a connection. I booked Tales of Poppin' once, and so yes, so we're working to try to make that a reality, and hopefully we can do that. It's just, again, we want to make it all about the music, but that's another additional piece. Also, we're having 2 main stages next year. And so what that means is we're going to go with a double headliner setup. So you're going to have, you look at Godsmack from last year, as one of our headliners. So start to envision that you're going to have 2 of those acts for each of the 3 days, and then the 4th day, as I said, has some that Thursday day has some special stuff to it.
That's huge.
That's a quick rundown.
Yeah.
We're early on in the process.
Oh my God, that's exciting, man. How's it poppin', man? Did Ambler already know about this? Because I know she is a big fan. If she didn't know, when she sees this, I'm going to tell her before she actually sees it, probably. She's going to lose her mind.
Yes.
Oh, man. I know she was looking so forward to taking pictures.
She does not know yet.
No?
It's only been developing in the past week, because one of the other things that I've been juggling this week is that we are we're full-blown booking next year. It's like which acts are rolling over. We have one of our headliners is going to do an album anniversary set. looks like it's going to be on the Friday night, and that's rolling over for to next year. So there's a bunch of stuff that's all moving, and that's coming together. But there's going to be four stages in total that's going to have major national acts on them. And again, those two double main stages, we're going to be putting in some other unique things that I think will just overall take the festival experience to the next level, because we have a little bit more time to plan. Right. The problem is how, for me, is just how big do you go? And how do you gauge it and such? And that's one of the reasons why fans are such a huge help when they roll over tickets, because it allows us to see, okay, how's our attendance going to be like? Because I don't know when the music industry is going to open back up. And, do people come back in early? I mean, just being fully transparent with you, does the music industry open back up in March, where everyone's been so pent up for shows that everyone just blows through shows the next 3 or 4 months, and by the time Blue Ridge come around, it's like, oh, well, we don't really have money for that, or we just look at how much I splurged in the beginning half of this year. So unique things about the climate and the nature, and so it's not easy being a festival. And again, there's we could talk for hours realistically about just behind the scenes, and that's one of the things that we love. Is I love doing interviews like this, and I love just speaking openly, because I think it's really helpful for fans to understand and have some of that perspective, because I can attest to it. I myself, coming into the music business was very difficult. I've never had a mentor. I've never had anyone really guide me or lead me. I sent some inquiries out. It was always said I was too young when I started at 16. So building this was listening to podcasts and just putting mentors in my life that were just strong people in business that could just teach me some of the principles, and always trying to do the right thing and take care of people. And I just allowed that to be foundational principles for me to build off of and grow, because you can't just go on to find a book for how to be a music promoter for dummies. It doesn't exist. So it's a very unique industry to try to learn and to hop into. So.
Yeah, I would say so. And at some point, I think, John, I'm going to have to pick your brain. I don't have any ambitions like what you've got going on with Blue Ridge Rock Festival, but there are some Rock Titan plans down the road that I may have to pick your brain. But that's a conversation for another day. And thank you so much for your time. And again, everyone, we were here with Jon Slye, and man, an amazing guy. Jon Slye is an amazing guy. And out with Ambler. Can't say enough about our girl, Ambler. Thank you for connecting John and I. This is absolutely awesome. So, everybody, again, I am Scotty J with Rock Titan Live. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with John. And please show your support. Go out to BlueRidgeRockFest.com. Brand new site that just launched. And go check out youtube.com/Rock Titan. That is our channel. Please go check out our podcasts and show some love, or show some hate, whatever. I don't care. Just let us know that you're there, and you're thinking about us. But I am Scotty J with Rock Titan Live. We're out.